All right, it is a Monday. It is the Weekend Recap podcast. It's also the fifth leg of the Spanish adventures for yours truly and my lovely wife, Leah, who's going to podcast with me again. I think she's developed a little bit of a taste for this thing. We have made our way out of Barcelona. We were at the Clasico yesterday. What a Clasico. 4-3, absolute thriller. Just an all-timer to be there. We'll describe it a little bit coming up here over the span of the podcast. John has you covered on everything with the Padres. I saw SDFC over the weekend. I think it went true to form. If you score twice against St. Louis, you're probably going to win. They're not a good scoring team, St. Louis, so scored enough that it made it impossible for City to come back in that game. Saw the Padres 2 out of 3 at Denver over the weekend. Buddy Black lost his job, so Buddy Black, who has spent, I think, is it 9 years? Somewhere in that range. It's a long, long time for him with the Colorado Rockies. I did appreciate the choice of words that they used, that they relieved him of his duties. I'm sure there was part for Buddy Black that was relieved to not be with the Colorado Rockies anymore. But we're going to primarily stick with what it is that we're doing and what it is that we've seen here. I could go through box scores and talk about a 21-0 baseball game or a 2-1 soccer match, but we were in Barcelona yesterday. It's the fifth leg, as mentioned, and it's the final leg for us that we are in Girona. And this is a city about an hour's train ride north of Barcelona. Never been here before. We've spent the day here. We're sitting on a terrace. It's just about 8 o'clock, and we've all just awoken from a nap. So we got a little bit of siesta in. Took the train out of Barcelona this morning. Like I said, about an hour to get to Girona. We walked through the streets with our suitcases, got to our hotel, checked in, and then started walking around this magnificent city. I don't know that I can describe it and do it any justice here on the podcast. Even 20-plus years of broadcasting, I don't know that I can tell you exactly what it is that we all saw here today. Northeastern Spain, 62 miles northeast of Barcelona. Our producer, Juan, is helping us out here. About 100,000 people. Spanish and Catalan are the official languages. That's actually a really important part. This is as Catalan a city as we've ever been to. And I'll explain what that means. I know 99.9% of you will never, ever get here. You'll never get here in your lives. I hope you do, though. I hope you do, because it has really been a terrific day. We have another full day here. We have tonight. We have a full day here. And then, sadly, we will be back on our flight to San Diego on Wednesday morning. And I say that because I saw John promote the last podcast that we did, Leah. When we first arrived in Barcelona, he said, you can hear the pain or the sadness in Leah's voice when she talked about having to go back to San Diego. Do you feel like that represented you? Are you sad to be going back to Barcelona on Wednesday? Not to Barcelona, back to San Diego?
Yes, I'm still really sad. I think being here, this country makes me happy. The people make me happy. The environment makes me happy. The food makes me very happy. The wine thrills me to no end. So yes, I am sad, but happy to get home to the horse. To the horse. Okay. I mean, we've got it pretty good. Yeah. I got to admit, we do have it pretty good. But John got that one right, because John said you can hear the pain in Leah's voice when she talks about going back to San Diego. I got a chuckle out of that. Yes, 100% accurate, John. It's very perceptive. Also, my friend Juan is sitting right here next to us as well. Do you want to come on this podcast?
Sure. Hello, everybody.
I will not mention your last name, because you're a real serious person with a serious job. And you probably don't want to get dragged down by any repercussions associated with this podcast. So we'll just refer to you as Juan. It is your real name, as far as we know. So welcome to Section 1904.
Well, happy to be here with you. Happy to be sharing Spain and enjoying the beautiful sights, sounds, smells, and tastes that we've experienced together here in Spain, in Barcelona, and Catalonia.
All right. You also are from San Diego. Are you sad? Are you sad to be going back? Leah's a little bit sad to be going back. What about you?
It's a bittersweet memory sort of thing that I have going on right now. I know that I'll be back. You just can't stay away from this part of Spain or Spain in general. Looking forward to bringing my family the next time we come.
It's been an absolutely amazing trip for us. Like I said, this is the fifth leg through Barcelona, Sitges, through La Repita. That was the horseback riding adventure, the excursion that Leah went on for 4 days, then Valencia for 4 days, then back up to Barcelona, and today here in Girona. You are a Spanish speaker. I am not. Can you pronounce the name of this city the way it should be pronounced?
Well, it depends on whether you're going to go through the Catalan way or the Spanish way, Girona or Girona. However, they get it when you come as a foreigner and try and do your best. They love it when you try and speak Catalan. It's a point of pride for people in this region, and the city's open to people right now. The city's teeming. They have the flower festival going on, and it's magnificent. It's magical, and I know Darren's going to mention the cathedral because it has some Game of Thrones fame.
Indeed, and we are looking at the cathedral now. But let's start with the sports, since nominally this is a sports podcast. We didn't have any exposure to Padres or SDFC, but I'm glad that both had a successful weekend. I did see Wave 1-1 draw as well, so I'll let John get into the details on that. I will be back on Wednesday. SDFC will be back at home. I will be on the call this Saturday. I'm not going to make it back in time for the match on Wednesday, but I'll make it back for the match on Saturday. And unless I've missed an email here, I will be on the call with Adrian Garcia Marquez. So I'm looking forward to that. Who really knows what time zone I'm going to be on when that match kicks off at 7 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium, but we'll figure it out. We'll be good to go. We were at El Clasico yesterday, FC Barcelona, Real Madrid. This was played at the Olympic Stadium at Montjuic. It was a 4:15 local kickoff here in Catalonia. It was an incredible environment. This is the fourth time that Leah and I have seen Barcelona play in Barcelona. Second time we've seen them on this trip because we were there for the Champions League match. And then we were there for El Clasico. This is our second Clasico. We went to one in 2015. That one was played at Camp Nou. We are 4-0, by the way. I just want to put it out there. That FC Barcelona is 4-0 when the Smiths are in attendance. So, although you weren't technically a Smith then in 2015, but you are now. Juan, how many times have you seen Barcelona play in Barcelona?
This will be my second occasion. I've seen him play someplace else, however, but in Barcelona, one at the Camp Nou, and now one here at Montjuic.
What did you think of the environment?
Well, it was electric. I think fans came to represent. They were the 12th player. I think they made a difference. They kept the team going. People were on fire in terms of their excitement, the passion, and the emotions that there were people crying. I got a little tearful myself when the Barcelona anthem came on. It's a special thing when you come and hang out with people that are like-minded. They love this team. It's more than a club. And hanging out with our Peña, our soccer supporters club, or how we like to say our football supporters club, makes it special. So appreciate the fact that I was able to do that. I'm blessed and looking forward to the next time.
As a friend sent me a message and said, we've seen two matches within the span of however many days it was, 8-10 days, something like that, from Champions League until El Clasico and played on Sunday. And in two matches, we saw 13 goals scored combined. A 3-3 draw against Inter Milan, and then we saw a 4-3 classic yesterday. Soccer, not boring. You love it. You get into it as well. You said something at the end of the match, how tense it felt as Barcelona was protecting this one goal lead. You're not the biggest sports fan. You're more casual than us. I just wonder how you enjoyed it.
I think every moment once they got ahead by one, it was a rough start with the 2-0, like super fastly, and you're like, oh no, and you kind of get a little defeated and a little upset. You want to see him be ahead the whole match, but yeah, it was so tense, and everyone around you was cheering. Like, we made friends with the people behind us, and we knew the people next to us, and the people in front of us were excited, and just the tension and the excitement level is just nothing compares to it.
Yeah, and we had a group, Juan mentioned the Peña here. I think we were all in about 20, 25 people or so from San Diego. So we had a whole bunch of people from San Diego. I think somewhere along the way, somebody got interviewed by ESPN Deportes, if anybody was watching. on Spanish language television. So you might have seen a familiar face, or you might have seen somebody wearing some Padre hats. Bumped into a random person wearing a Padre hat, and just was in town, just wanted to go to the match, was wearing a Padre cap, and we talked about the 21-0 game on Saturday night. Neither one of us had seen it because it starts at like 1 in the morning here, or 2 in the morning here. But yeah, we had about 20, 25 people there, and again, a little bit of television exposure. It was incredible. We talked a little bit about seeing Lamine Yamal for the first time live, and we've both been very lucky that we've seen some of the greats. That Clasico that we went to in 2015, I mean, it was the best collection of players, maybe ever, honestly, when you think about who was playing in that match. That was Messi and Ronaldo and Suarez and Neymar and Bale and Benzema and Cruz and Iniesta. I mean, it was everybody. It was just everybody. And, to see this group of young players, the joke around FC Barcelona now is when Barcelona used to win things, the players would bring their children out there onto the field. Now they bring their parents, because these guys are teenagers. These are teenagers. Juan, you've seen some of the greats. You go way back. You're not a fan who just popped up over the last couple of years. That was your first time seeing Lamine Yamal. I know it's easy just to focus on him. I just wonder, and we got to see him score, which is great. We've seen him score a couple times. Scored a worldly the other week. And then, the goal that he scored in El Clasico to bring it level, I think it was the second goal. It made it 2-2. And then Rafinha scored the third and then scored the fourth, right? Because it was Eric with the first goal, and then it was Lamine, and then it was Rafinha. Juan, you've seen some of the greatest players who've ever played. You're Colombian. It's in your blood. I wonder what you thought watching a 17-year-old run around the field against Real Madrid.
Well, the thought, it was a new era. Messi is still around. He will always be the best soccer player in the world. Has continued to be. However, now we see this new hope, a transition from another time, another team, and something that gives Barcelona fans, culés, a lot of hope. You see Lamine do things that Ronaldinho used to do, that Neymar used to do, and that Messi's done before. So he's sort of a conglomeration of all these players, and he studied them. He says that himself. He looks, his favorite player is Neymar. But he's looked at Ronaldinho footage. I was seeing him as a little kid when he was in the first level at Barcelona, and he's watching Ronaldinho films and what he's doing and what he's saying, and then he responds in such an adult way, even that at that age. And now you're looking at a 17-year-old kid who is making moves, his view of the game. He sees the whole field. He anticipates the moves, and the speed at which he does that is so incredible. And the goal seems like it's a chip shot, but the power and the force and the speed of that ball as it goes past one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I would say Ter Stegen might be up there as well, but Courtois is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and it just sailed right past them in this beautiful arc, and it was in, and we were tied. And this is what it means to this excitement that kind of player creates. It's a generational player, and for me to be able to experience both Messi and now Lamine is just it's crazy. That's all I can say.
It was, and I really thought Barcelona kind of was beating the brakes off of Real Madrid. You look at the final scoreline and you'd say 4-3. Wow, that was really close, right? It was really tense at the end. Then there was the drama as Barca seemingly added a fifth goal in the 5th minute of stoppage time, and then there was this delay for video review, and then they took the goal off, and a bit of controversy. It would have been controversial had it ended up 4-4 somehow. But we also saw one of the other greats in the world in Kylian Mbappe too, and if not a penalty, and also just a couple of my first time seeing Mbappe, but really some of the numbers, the possession, the XG, total shots. I mean, it all favors Barcelona. It just, you felt like watching the match in real time when we were there, that they were really doing a number on Real Madrid, and I think the scoreline was just, right? Like the result was just. So I was getting text messages while we were there from people that were watching it on television. John was sending me messages. Our friend Caesar was sending me messages. Inside of the stadium, as Juan said, walking in, the Barcelona hymn. They had all of these flags that were handed out. All of the Barcelona crest flags were handed out. We didn't get a chance to save any of them. Somebody took ours by the time we got.
They stole our flags before we even got to our seats.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. But even still, it was amazing and just an incredible environment. And the fans were so into it. And everybody was singing and everybody was high-fiving one another, like Leah said. And then one of my favorite things was at the end of the match ends and nobody left. Everybody just wanted to stay there. Everybody wanted to stay and just soak it all in. And the players sort of did a little lap of honor, and they had a really, really connection with the fans. I thought that was really great at the end of it. So none of the people wanted to leave the building. It was 50,000 plus. It was loud. I thought the environment was great. I thought it was better than it was during Champions League. I guess that's just what a Clasico will bring out of you. And also it pretty much means that the league is done and dusted now. Barcelona's up 7 with 3 to play. So it would take an absolute collapse. It won't happen, but it would be an absolute collapse at this point. And like Leah said, down 2-0 early on, I think it sort of speaks to the way Barcelona's played is that this group of kids, there's a front page picture on some of the local newspapers here, and they're kids, they're just like, man, it's just, they just don't ever think they're going to lose, whether they're down 2 or whether they're, down 2 on the road at Inter Milan. It doesn't occur to them that they could, that they could lose one of these matches, which, hey, it's naivete, right? Like youth is, it's often associated with that. But, just an incredible environment from the fans to the city to the late night. Juan's been our travel guide here now. This is our second trip that we've all taken as a group. And we kind of connect with Juan because, Lee and I, our Spanish is awful. It's horrible. So necesitamos how do you say translator?
Alguien que traduzca.
So we need Juan to help us to navigate around town, but also a big food and wine guy. Unless you have any more thoughts on the Clasico, we can talk about food and wine. Yeah.
Can we talk about how Darren mentioned somebody was wearing a Padres hat, and I think my favorite part was when there was a few people that were trying to sneak into the stadium in Real Madrid jerseys, which is white, so it stands out, and they made them go buy Barcelona jerseys and clothing. It was hysterical. Just to make them spend their money on the Barcelona team store was one of my favorite things about partying out front and watching everybody go in.
Yeah, that's something that might be a surprise to people. You're not supposed to be allowed into the stadium wearing another team's jersey unless you're sitting in the designated supporter section. There's always a designated supporter section. Snapdragon Stadium has this. Now, the rules aren't as strict in Major League Soccer, at least not today. Maybe somewhere down the road. But you're not even supposed to go into the stadium wearing anything Real Madrid unless you're sitting in the designated section. And that was funny because we were behind this woman, and you have to picture her, right? There's this meme that floats around on Padres Twitter of a Dodger fan inside of the Padre team store holding up a brown jersey, right? And every time the Padres beat the Dodgers, somebody posts that picture out there on Twitter. You're like, the whole concept is this person's ready to jump ship, right? Like their fans are ready to quit. And it was funny to take pictures of Real Madrid fans having to buy Barcelona shirts just to get access into the stadium. We didn't see any trouble. I didn't see any trouble, at least. I heard there was a little bit of trouble against Napoli. That's something I didn't realize when we recorded that podcast last week from Valencia. I didn't see any trouble. I mean, there were a handful of Real Madrid fans that were walking around the streets, and they were getting harassed. They would walk by the bars and the pubs, and the Barcelona fans would give them the business. Didn't really matter who it was. Male, female, old, young, mom, kids, they would get the business. Nothing dangerous, nothing threatening or violent or anything like that. Just some banter, a bit of banter, as the saying goes. But just a phenomenal day and a phenomenal night. And then we went out and after a couple cocktails and a shower on a warm day, on a warm, sunny day. By the way, that's another thing I've been asked. This was a 4:15 local kickoff here in Spain. It should have been a night game. It has the gravitas that the match is a big enough match that it should have been at night. But they do this stuff for television because Barcelona's FC Barcelona is a global brand, so they try to make it as available on television to as many different parts of the world as possible. So, that was so that it was at 7:15 in California, 10:15. It was available in Asia at a non-ridiculous hour. So, it was a match that certainly should have been played at night, but just in terms of how massive the results were, the league title on the line. But they do that sort of stuff because, that's kind of what Barcelona is. Barcelona is an international brand, so much so that we saw Peñas from all over the world. We saw Peña from Shanghai. We saw supporters groups from Portugal.
Bulgaria.
Where else?
Oh, you had Portugal, you had Germany, France, Morocco, Congo. We had them from all over the place, and everybody got together and took pictures together with the heads of the Peñas, the organization that sort of administers the Peñas here in Spain. So, magical moment. If I had anything else to say in terms of the Clasico, I think this is an inflection point. You had two of the best teams of the world, the two best teams in Spain play. One that's created Real Madrid with superstar players, and they have a whole gallery of superstars or wannabe Galacticos. The other one is a team that's made up of youngsters, so people that have been bred at La Masia, which is the school that Barcelona sets up, and have taken over that team. The median age is really young, except for two players that are in their 30s. This is a really, really young team. So what does that mean? That means that in the next decade or so, we have a strong team that's going to it's going to set its imprint just that the famous Barcelona teams have done in the past. So looking forward to that.
Yep. And next time we see this team, assuming that we'll be back here before too long, we'll see it at the renovated Camp Nou, the project which is hopefully going to finish sometime, I think, in the fall of 2025. So won't make it in time for this one, but we'll make it in time for the next time we roll through. All right. As mentioned, the reason the three of us out of the 25, 30 people that have traveled here to Spain, we do enjoy a bit of wine. We do enjoy a bit of food. And we have enjoyed a bit of wine, and we have enjoyed a bit of food. By the way, Juan mentioned that we are kind of in the shadows of this cathedral in the city of Girona. For those of you that watch Game of Thrones, if you remember, there was this, I'll post these pictures on Instagram, but there was a, what did they call it? They called it the Sept of Baelor, the Sept of Baelor. And, this is literally what we are looking at while we are here. It's a Gothic building, setting for the great Sept of Baelor, the central place of worship for the faith of the seven in the series. This is where the High Sparrow was, Cersei Lannister, where she got imprisoned. I think she got imprisoned there. And then she ended up blowing up the whole building. Now, that was CGI. That was not actually happening because we were looking at it, and we are looking at it right now. I mean, it's just an unbelievable thing that we are sitting here and we are recording this podcast on a Monday while we're looking at a cathedral that's been around for forever and featured so prominently in the Game of Thrones series. What do we want to talk about with food and wine? I don't even know where to begin with this. We've had so much cava. We did a cava tasting over the weekend. We went to Penedès, and we had a little Freixenet, and that was a lot of fun. Actually, we still have a bottle that somehow we have to consume between now and the time that we depart. We're all leaving on Wednesday. Juan leaves a little bit earlier than I. But we've also tried some wines that we never even heard of before. Juan, when we first met, you told me that you were a Spanish wine connoisseur. So we've allowed you to talk to us and talk us into certain varietals and grapes and such. How did you get into Spanish wine?
Well, tasting was, being exposed to it. I think that my travels to Spain have really potentiated that. Spanish wine has a long history. The Phoenicians brought wine here, and the varied sense of the sense of place you get from Spanish wines. For example, if you're in the Basque region, you're having Chacolí or Chacolina. And if you're in La Rioja, which is one of the DO's designated place of origins, one of the most famous ones, you have a wine that is made for time and to denote a certain time and age in the barrel as well as in the bottle. And then you go down to the southern regions of Spain, and you're having sherries, which are also fabulous. So you have this wide breadth of different wines for any occasion, any food products. It's usually paired with food. They're for consuming with food. Today we had some wonderful chacolí that we paired with Basque food here in Girona. I'm using the Catalan pronunciation of that to be safe, and it was fantastic. So that you get this product, this produce from the sea, from the earth, and then you pair it with the wines that are grown in that same region, and they make a fantastic pairing. Anybody that knows wine will tell you that's the way to go. Spain is amazing at that. They have some of the best wines in the world. They can compete with France and the United States.
All right, so you just talked a little bit about Catalan. As a Spanish speaker, how different is it? The language.
The language, yeah, it's different. There are some similarities. The pronunciations are different. Sometimes the words sound the same, but have a nuanced meaning. So it is a combination. If you were to ask me, it's a combination of French and Spanish, and maybe a little Portuguese. I'm not saying that that's the origin of this language. I'm saying that that's what it sounds like to you when you hear it. And it goes along with a culture that's very important in Spain.
Yeah, and again, because we sat down and at least we're good enough that we can get through a menu in Espanol. But today, in Catalan, like even the word for salad is just totally, it's tomato is different. You can kind of figure through some of these words as well. Obviously, there's a reason why the three of us, hang around with one another and gravitate towards one another here. By the way, Juan also introduced us to a great Spanish restaurant in Little Italy called Barra Oliva, if anybody's ever been. A little pricier, but we've had some good wine here.
Also, I think Juan has been, now that there's three of us, right, it kind of makes the intake of wine increase a little bit. And I'm pretty sure at every meal we've had together, it's been, well, we need to start with a bottle of white or cava. We're eating seafood. And then by the time we get around to ordering the last couple of pinchos or the meal that we're sharing, it's like, well, I mean, we really do need a red to pair with this beautiful food. So Juan has helped us get to taste more things and pair more things than when it's just the two of us.
Yeah, it's actually, this is what happens at every meal that we have here, okay? This is exactly the conversation. All right, so, we'll have a bottle of white to start lunch. And yes, it's a common thing here to have a bottle of wine with lunch. And, we'll get through the first bottle, and then we're like, well, should we each have another glass? And Leah will say, well, if we're all going to have one glass, a bottle's only 4 glasses, so we end up with a second bottle every time. I mean, this is pretty much what's happened at every meal. So every meal has become at least a 2-bottle experience, has it not?
Yes, I have to admit to that. However, it doesn't sound it's not as bad as you think, because this happens in time. You see, people here sit down, and it's all about being in a place, being present at that moment, and sharing an experience, and you're there for a while. They're not rushing you out. This is not like you have an hour to get out of here, so you need to eat and drink as fast as you can and get out. Here, they're going to sit you down. It might take a little longer for you to get served. They'll bring you your food. You have time to talk. You're always eating. So this is about the food and how to make that food experience elevated a bit if you're into wine. And we happen to be. I think it's a wonderful thing. And then you get that, you take that with you. You take that moment in time that you have food, the wine, and the experience, and of you talking with some really good friends and reviewing what you've done that day, what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing. The lunch culture here is a lot different. You think about lunch cultures in the United States, it's usually get in, get out, right? To Juan's point, you got to go someplace. You got to move on. You got to get on to the next thing. Maybe you got to get back to work. Lunches here, it's pretty common to go 3, 4 hours sometimes. And, to Juan's point, you have to the service industry is just different. It's not that it's bad service; it's that they're just not going to bother you. They're not going to drop a check. They're not going to flip a table. They will let you stay. Sometimes you have to flag them down. You got to wave your arms at them to say, "Hey, come over here." We'd like to order postres, or we'd like to have another cup of coffee, or whatever it is. So it is different. And to Juan's point, it is much more about the community sense of it. It's about the experience of sitting and just enjoying yourself. We've never been to Girona. I just wonder. We've been very fortunate. We've been to a lot of cities in Spain on this trip. We've been to a lot of cities in Spain over many trips. I don't, like I said earlier, I don't even know how to describe this. I read some of the things that Juan popped up on his phone about population and such, but this is an unbelievable place, and we've just only been here for about 6-7 hours.
I fell in love with this city just walking from the train over. The architecture is stunning. The colors at the flower festival, I don't know how we lucked out. Our friend Nadia let us know about that. You just walk around the city and you can get in free to museums because of this festival. It is so beautiful. Everything is just absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, I want to come back. It's not even enough time.
And it's true, right? Like, we all watch Game of Thrones. It was kind of cool to be on those steps today, right? And think about some of the episodes of Game of Thrones where, Cersei Lannister. I'm trying to figure out if this is where the Walk of Atonement scene was filmed. I'm trying to look that up. Yeah, where she has to go down the street naked with the bells ringing and everybody's going, shame, shame, shame. I don't know that. I mean, the Sept of Baelor is like literally right in front of us, but I don't know if that scene was filmed here. There were other scenes that were filmed here, like Arya Stark. When she was running around Bravos, a lot of that was filmed here in Girona. So, this has become a little bit of a destination for Game of Thrones geeks, that they find their way here and, they go walk through the streets and all that sort of stuff. So, we did a little bit of that, but it was sort of adjacent to us just appreciating the flower festival and the architecture and the streets, and it's clean, and they have this river that cuts through the middle of the city, and some of the buildings are right on the river. I posted a picture of that on Instagram. So, yeah, I'm excited. Dinner tonight, I'm sure, will be great. And then we'll have another full day here tomorrow. And John and I are planning a podcast tomorrow together. So we'll talk a little bit together about some of the things happening in sports and the NBA and the Padres and the Angels, which are later on tonight. And then Juan's going to go back to Barcelona. You brought us to an area we've never been to last night. Have we?
I think not together. I don't think so. I think we've walked through Bourne and the Gothic Quarter, but we hadn't been there to eat.
Bourne. Wow. We went to the club. Yeah. We went to the club. The 3 oldest people in the club. We made it happen, though. We made it happen. We were celebrating 3 points. We had a good time. The food, it's been a minute since we spent that kind of time in Barcelona. We had spent so much time traveling. We figured we'd just seen so much. But phenomenal, just an absolute phenomenal place, and a phenomenal trip, and phenomenal city, and friends. So I think we'll call that a podcast here. And John, again, I know you'll talk a little bit more. I do want to say, just real quick, because it probably won't be worth saying tomorrow. Listen, I like Buddy Black, and I think I like what a lot of people in the media say about Buddy, that he's just a good overall solid person. And people will say, well, what does that have to do with managing? And the answer is probably not all that much, if we're being honest. But it's not like he's had a ton to work with. Some of those years in San Diego, when you couldn't find anybody in ownership and you couldn't find anybody from the front office, there is something to be said about a manager who will stand there every single day and answer a lot of those questions. And the Rockies have just completely punted as an organization. Who knows what's next for him? Pretty good run, though. That's a pretty good run when you look at Buddy Black and his career. The amount of time that he spent managing. I think it's been fair. I didn't like axing a manager 60 games into a season, but I think all in all, he's it's a pretty solid career that Buddy's had. If that's it for him managing, and I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? But I guess we'll chat tomorrow, myself and John, unless anybody has anything else to say. Is everybody? Maybe this is too personal. You using the bidet in your room?
Absolutely.
Really? You do?
Yes, absolutely. That we could do another podcast on bidets and why we don't use them in the U.S.
I'm intimidated by it. I turned the water on the other day and I felt like I didn't understand it. Do you use it?
No, but maybe Juan could give us some instruction after 2 bottles of wine at dinner tonight.
So you really do? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Totally recommend it.
Do you have one in your house?
I do not have one at my house at this moment in time.
Sounds like
However,
nothing.
yeah, you can buy them at Costco, I guess.
Yeah, they have. You could buy the Japanese versions of the thing that you just, you're scared of that are worth like $4,000 or $5,000, and it's in Japan. It's something that they do a lot in Europe for sure. That's why, although not as much. We are in Girona, so not as much of a. There is a lot of tourism, but you'll see them in the hotels that still respond to that sort of culture. I think it's not in the modern hotels, although the higher end hotels will have them here in Spain and other places in Europe.
Okay.
Okay, but the placement of the bidet in the bathroom in our place in Rapita, it was like right in front of the sink where I was brushing my teeth and doing my hair, and like I would flip my head over and my face was essentially in the bidet because the bathroom was so small. So I think larger bathrooms and proper placement should be.
Yeah, poor planning on that one. Yeah. I mean, what a city this is, right? Your first time here too?
Yeah, totally. My first time in Girona. Looking forward to coming back. So interesting. This is the city that they call the land of 1,000 sieges, or the city of 1,000 sieges, because it's been attacked by almost everybody: Moors, Franks, Romans, and we've walked across ruins today. The actual cathedral is part of a complex where they have a whole wall that was used to protect the city, and we were able to walk on that, go into the towers, see the views. It was awesome. But what's amazing about Girona is that it's so green, and if you're looking from a high place, you see the forest come up and abut against the city, and it's on purpose. As we were walking, the trees were streets were lined with trees. It provides a cooling effect in the summer. So come here if you like culture. If you like cycling, this is the town.
Yeah, our cycling, our buddies love cycling. This is, we saw people on the train that had their bicycles with us. I when we were looking for places to stay, we were in a hotel, but we did look at a couple of Airbnbs, and a lot of the reviews were very specific to whether or not you can get your bicycle up the stairs. So, there's a lot of people that cycle here through the hills, and Juan said it well, like, it's so green. We took the train. It was such a good experience taking the train out of Barcelona. And it just, it went so smoothly, and it was so efficient. It drops us off right in town, and the train station it's like, it's just the cleanest thing you've ever seen in your life, and it's easy to navigate your way around. And we walked 15, 20 minutes with our luggage through the streets, and that was probably annoying for other people. But, we found ourselves to this hotel, and then we walked around. And, man, Juan was funny. He goes, we're here about 20 minutes. He's like, yeah, I can move here. I was like, okay. All right. Well, we haven't even had a meal here yet, but what a meal we had. We are one for one. We had a great lunch, just a phenomenal lunch. I'm sure it's going to be a great dinner. So with that said, I feel like we've gone on quite a bit here. Wow. Okay. We have. John, talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Darren and Leah and Juan, who is not me, unfortunately, with a great report from Girona, Spain. They all seem happy, obviously. And I was very happy for Darren over the weekend that the Clasico was not rainy, as we talked about. He didn't have to get a poncho. Looked like the weather was good. Great game, great outcome, big victory for Barca. Darren and Leah just having a dream vacation, and we all get to live vicariously through them through these podcasts. But he did go long, and that's fine, because I'm going to cover a handful of things pretty quickly. I don't have any deep thoughts on them. SDFC, Darren mentioned it. They get the win. That needs to be part of a weekend recap. But also, I recorded a podcast on Saturday night with Alex Pena from Chromatic FC on Substack, where we kind of had an initial reaction, did a bit of a post-game show on the 2 goals for SDFC, on Chucky, who couldn't stop whining to the refs. to some of the threats that St. Louis posed to San Diego. You can go listen to that one. We broke it down a little bit, but, good win. Afterwards, I was kind of sitting there wondering, was I a little bit too negative after a win? I kind of harped on Shuki a lot, but no, it was a good win. It was a good win for SDFC. Back-to-back wins. I think their next 3 matches are at home at Snapdragon. They don't need to travel. They can get into a really nice rhythm. Their teams, I'm not looking at them, but I think one of them is LAFC. There's a couple teams in there that either they should beat or they have beaten earlier this year. Good place for SDFC to be. I'm going to hold on NBA. Let's do just a little bit of Padres first. And this one's probably not going to go in the direction that most people think, but that's okay. With Teddy Leitner announcing his retirement at the end of the San Diego State basketball season, he's no longer part of the Padres broadcast. I feel like I need to take up this mantle. Baseball should be banned from Colorado. It should just be banned from Denver. It's not real baseball. It's just terrible. It's terrible. Every single moment that I had to watch the Padres this weekend take on the Colorado Rockies in Denver, and that's a stadium that I've been to. That's a downtown that I enjoy. I have friends whom I love who live in that city. I've been to Broncos games at that stadium. Denver's a great place. They should stop playing baseball there. It is just so different from every other city and every other ballpark in Major League Baseball that it feels like you're watching a different sport. It is a different sport, but it also feels like it. And that's why I didn't enjoy a minute of this. I didn't enjoy the Padres winning 21-0. I didn't enjoy the Padres winning 13-9. I didn't enjoy the Padres losing 9-3. My takeaway from this series was Randy Vasquez has something. I don't know what he's got, but he's got something. I mean, he is like, if in a normal season, we'd be looking at Randy Vasquez and going like, this is exactly the type of season you want from your number 5 starter. The problem is he's kind of the number 4 starter. And that's, I think that makes people want a little bit more from him, but hey, he gets another win. Good performance in Colorado. Good for him. Stephen Kolek. I mean, that's 2 fantastic performances from Stephen Kolek. After the first one, I said, I don't know how good he was because the Pirates are that bad. I still don't know how good he is to pitch a 9-inning shutout in Colorado, but that's really hard to do. Our boy Dylan from Letters to AJ had a really good breakdown on how Nick Pivetta, who got bombed away on Sunday, is kind of the opposite of Stephen Kolek, and so the thin air of Colorado really works against him. It doesn't allow his breaking pitch to break as much. It doesn't allow his rising fastball to rise as much. And he's just kind of throwing meatballs up there. And with Kolek, it's kind of the opposite in that he gets a little bit more movement on some of his pitches. Same might actually be true for Vasquez as well. So just an interesting weekend of pitching. Herman Marquez for the Rockies remains a guy who I feel like is just always going to be a thorn in the side of the San Diego Padres until he gets out of the division. And then the big story that you heard Darren talk about is the Rockies, who probably should have fired Buddy Black after he lost 21-0 on Saturday, waited until he won 9-3 on Sunday to send his ass home. Buddy Black has been there since, I think, 2016. He has not had a winning season or even a 500 season as a manager of the Rockies since, I think, 2018. So, yeah. I mean, Darren and I talked about it last week. We were kind of like, I can't believe that the Rockies continue to just roll out this same team and the same manager and the same GM and expect different results. But that's the Rockies. Should the Padres have swept them? Maybe. I don't know. Like, Nick Pivetta even said in his post-game thing, he's like, it's really hard to pitch here because it's just a different game than 29 other ballparks in Major League Baseball. He's not wrong. Manny Machado seemed to imply after the game that, last game of a long road trip, you've already got the series all sewn up. They kind of mailed this one in. Like, he didn't say that, but he was like, hey, man, that's the beauty of 162. You can play a game like this, and you got another one tomorrow. Like, that's kind of the, like, yeah, we mailed it in a little bit. But look, this was the road trip. They swept the Pirates. They took one from the Yankees, and they won the series against the Rockies. They went 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-3. 6-3 is a good road trip, and especially a road trip with that much traveling, 3 straight road series before you come home. Good for them. good for them. A solid road trip. The next road trip they have is at the end of May. They go to Toronto and Atlanta, which is a lot of traveling, but again, only 6 games. There's a weird thing where they play Thursday in Toronto and then Friday in Atlanta. That's going to suck a little bit. And then they play Sunday in Atlanta and Monday in San Diego, so that's also going to suck a little bit. But the Padres are fine. I'm not going to, spend a lot of time on them. I am looking forward to seeing how they do once they get home. Tatis has, another day to, I don't know what's going on with the thing on his forearm, where he got hit by the fastball, and if that's affecting him, if that's causing the little mini slump or whatever. But the whole team is finally getting healthy. Merrill's sick, but he's healthy otherwise. Just getting home and getting back to, home cooking and all that. Just feels like they need it after almost 2 weeks on the road. So Padres come home. Buddy Black goes to wherever his home is. SDFC comes home for 3 games in a row. They're coming off a win. In the NBA, we have 4 series going on right now. I'm going to push the Pacers to the side for a minute. The Thunder Nuggets series is great. It's worth your time. It's tied 2-2. I still think that the Thunder are going to really take this one from the Nuggets. But I've been really impressed by the Nuggets, a team that essentially has 6 players who are good enough to play in the playoffs and who fired their head coach a week before the playoffs. This has been a battle. This has been a real battle between the Nuggets players, the Thunder players, and the Nuggets coaches and the Thunder coaches. And the Nuggets coaches, including David Adelman, who, again, had never been a head coach in the NBA until about a week before the NBA playoffs started. He's been great. And him and Mark Daigneault going back and forth with adjustments. That's been really good. The difference is the Thunder just have a lot of depth, and the Nuggets don't. And the longer the series goes, the more that's going to benefit the team with a lot of depth. But Nikola Jokic is the best player on the planet, and he will sometimes just take over a game and win it by himself. I don't think we've really seen him do that against the Thunder just yet. He's actually having kind of a bad series in terms of shooting and passing and turnovers, but it's an interesting one. I love when series get tied 2-2 because then it's just a best of 3, and that's where that one sits. The Pacers are up 3-1. They are fantastic. They're just a fantastic team. They have a lot of depth, a lot of really likable players. They play really hard. They play really fast. They score a lot of points. Rick Carlisle is their head coach, and it's very interesting because Rick Carlisle was their head coach for a while, and then he lost that job for whatever reason, losing to LeBron James and the Miami Heat, I think. And then he comes to Dallas. And he takes over Dallas, and he wins a ring with Dallas, beating LeBron James and that Miami Heat team with Dallas, and wins his one and only title. And then, he keeps coaching into Dirk's later years, and eventually they get Luka Doncic. And Rick Carlisle, who had always been known as a defense-first coach. I mean, he was the coach before Larry Brown took over and won the ring with the Pistons team with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince. Rick Carlisle was the head coach of that team, and his whole thing was like, we can win with defense. You can win with defense. And then when Luka Doncic came to the Dallas Mavericks, Rick kind of changed how he coached. And he was like, you can win with offense. In 2019, 2018, he's like, you can win with offense. And then he all of a sudden the Mavericks, with Luka Doncic and a really old Dirk Nowitzki for the first year, but then nothing, they were the number 1 offense in basketball for a number of years. And this was an NBA that had, the Steph Curry Warriors as a part of it. And the Mavericks just scored so many points all the time. And everyone was kind of like, I wonder what's going on over there. And right when things were getting to the point that, the Mavericks felt like they needed a change of GM, change of head coach to kind of push them over the edge and get them to that final destination where they can win a title. And look, last year they ran it all the way to the NBA Finals. Rick Carlisle kind of steps aside. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw that they were kind of looking around and they would like to maybe. And he was like, hey, guys, I'm going to take this out of your hands. I'm going to walk away. I'll resign. And then a couple days later, it turned out he had a deal with the Indiana Pacers to go back there. It seems like it's kind of a lifetime deal. Hey, he can coach the Pacers, run the Pacers for as long as he wants. And it was it was amazing because at the same time that the Mavericks were giving up on Rick Carlisle and saying, you're not the guy who's going to get us here. Really, the only guy who has ever gotten them there. They're like, we don't believe you're going to get us here. And the Pacers, on the other hand, are going, come on over here. We believe you're a championship level coach, and we would love for you to stay here as long as you want. And look, Rick Carlisle has a reputation around the league for being an asshole. There's a reason that a lot of people in the league still to this day call him Prick Carlisle. That being said, every single one of those people and everyone else will tell you he's one of the best coaches in the league. And he has been for a really long time. I don't know if he's ever won Coach of the Year. I know he's gotten votes here or there. It doesn't seem like a thing that he's particularly aiming for, obsessed with, targeting. He just wants to build a good team and win. And he's done that in Indiana since he got there. The team just gets a little better every year, a little better every year. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Everyone's like, oh, it's kind of it might not be a real thing. You know, they got lucky with injuries and what have you. And here they are again. One game away from beating the number 1 seed as a 4 seed and going back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, they lost to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, if they make it, they're going to take on the Celtics or the Knicks. Both of them have really fun, 90s history lessons buried in the narratives of those series. But either way, the Pacers are just a really fun team. They play basketball differently than everyone else. They're not doing the every shot is a three-pointer or a layup. They do take a lot of mid-range shots. They run like hell. They play hard defense. They can be physical. And when Tyrese Halliburton is healthy, which is not always, he's got, hamstring problems and usually biting at him. But when he's healthy, he's one of the best young players in the NBA. So the Pacers are fun. The Pacers are legit. And look, they got a 3-1 lead over the Cavaliers. That's scary time for Cleveland, who spent all season trying to prove we're not that team that keeps losing in the playoffs. We're not that team that keeps losing in the playoffs. We're better than that. And they proved it in the regular season, and now here we are in the playoffs, and they're kind of right back to where they were, partially because the Pacers are really good, and partially because Cleveland might have systemic issues. But those series are really fun to watch. Tonight's games, Timberwolves, Golden State, still no Steph Curry for the Warriors. Anthony Edwards left last game with an ankle, but he came back and seemed to kind of take over at the end there, so I'm assuming he's fine. Minnesota taking a 3-1 lead in that series would be bad. If Golden State can get it to 2-2, if Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield and Draymond Green can work a little magic and get that series to 2-2 tonight, I think there is some hope that Steph Curry would be available on Game 6 and then presumably Game 7. So that's the reason to watch that game tonight. And then Knicks Celtics. Darren's going to be watching. My wife's going to be watching, which means I'm going to be watching. Rooting against the Celtics, of course. They showed in Game 3 that they can still be the Celtics. But kind of like the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, the Thunder this year remind me a lot of the Celtics last year in that they almost never have the best player in a series. And the thing about them that's the scariest is actually their depth and their defense. Their offense is not good, but they get around that by shooting a ton of threes. And they field, when they're healthy, 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe 8 guys who can play really good defense that can make an open 3. And then they just coach around that. And that's a really interesting strategy that got the Celtics all the way to winning the cup last year. And maybe it's going to happen for the Thunder this year. We'll see. It does feel like when you don't have the best player in a series, though, that can really come back to bite you. And the playoffs are not the regular season. In the regular season, that's going to win you a lot of games. In the playoffs, the margins are smaller. It's more physical. There's fouls you're counting on that aren't there. So I don't know. The Celtics are still scary. I really hope the Knicks take a 3-1 lead because the Celtics will be a little less scary. And, I'm kind of circling a Knicks-Pacers Eastern Conference Finals, not as something I'm predicting, but as something that I'm hoping for. So there you go. There's my Padres thoughts. There's my SDFC thoughts. There's my NBA playoff thoughts. There's a draft lottery for the NBA draft tonight that will be very, very, very interesting if anyone pays attention to kind of the future-facing portion of the league. Cooper Flagg is undoubtedly going to be the number 1 pick. And, I don't know if he's a Victor Wembanyama level player, but he might be. And also, he might be going to the San Antonio Spurs. So, reason to watch that too. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this portion of the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Darren and Leah and their friend Juan portion of the podcast. I and Darren will be together tomorrow, assuming that he has internet connection. And we will actually converse with one another instead of doing these separate podcasts. And then on Wednesday, Darren travels home. So we're getting a lot closer to us being on the same time zone and doing a podcast together every day. Thank you so much if you are a subscriber to Section 1904. We couldn't do this without you. Your support is everything. We get a couple new subscribers every day. I get a couple new emails from people saying, how do I get on the subscribers only podcast? How do I get into the Discord? I had someone ask how they could send us a tip, which I found out is a thing that we can actually do. Interestingly enough. And then the guy sent us like $10 and was like, here, a beer for you and Darren. Genuinely appreciate that. Could not thank you guys more. And we're going to keep pumping out content, keep hoping that you guys are loving it. And until tomorrow, we are out.